Now that we have our shapes, we are on to progressions, specifically the dreaded 2-5-1. Hello everybody, welcome back. It's your fellow neighborhood sax man Alex here. Up to this point, we've talked about shapes, enclosures, arpeggios, and scales. And these are all very fundamental things that we need to utilize in order to create a nice, spicy solo. It is not enough to just know the theory, and this is why I created this series in the first place, to make sure that you're applying the theory that you already know so that you can sound even spicier on the bandstand. More often than not, you're going to encounter progressions that will probably make you want to throw your sax against the wall. And just knowing about the theory will not help you in terms of going through those types of difficult changes and progressions. But there is a great way to start out with the 2-5-1. For those of you who don't know the 2-5-1, I'm referring to a chord progression based on a key center. So the 2 meaning the 2 minor of that key, the 5 meaning the 5 that particular key, and the 1 obviously resolved from the 5 and the 2 being the tonic of that certain key. This progression is probably one, if not the most used chord progression in Western music. So just to get the numbers and the letters down, here's an example. So if we're in the key of C major, the chord progression of a 2-5-1 resolving to C would start at D minor, which is your 2 minor, G, which is your 5, resolving down to C major. Simple enough, and again, it's one of the most common progressions in Western music. So because it is so common in Western music, including pop, rock, jazz, funk, soul, R&B, the list goes on, it's very important for you to understand and be able to solo off of these changes. So how do you practice going over 2-5-1s? I got you. So the first thing you need to do is to understand the length of the 2-5-1, whether it be 1 measure, 2 measures, 3 measures, 4 measures, etc. In some jazz standards, a 2-5 will not always resolve and will only have a span of 1 measure, meaning the 2 and the 5 only gets 2 beats per the measure. So figure out what progressions you want to focus on. You can focus on different time lengths too. You can start out with 1 measure, practice that, start out with 2 measures, practice that, but it's important to understand that the 2-5-1s can span in different time lengths, not just 1 measure, not just 2, it could be 3, 4, so on and so forth. Once you settle in on a time frame of exactly what you want to practice on, let's say 4 measures, now we want to build a phrase that goes along with the chord scales of the respective chords. So let's take it easy. Let's say a 2-5-1 resolving to C major, which would be D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7. The chord scale that goes under D minor 7 is Dorian, and the notes of the Dorian scale, scale-wise, is 1, tension 9, flat 3, tension 11, 5, scale degree 6, flat 7, and 1 again. Why did I say scale degree 6? Because if you play the scale degree 6, it is going to imply mixolydian, which is a no-no if you're in a minor scale. So it's best to avoid the 6 unless it is a characteristic note that you want to emphasize in a solo, but best to avoid those scale degrees. Now the dominant chord has a mixolydian chord scale. So 1, tension 9, 3, scale degree 4, 5, tension 13, flat 7, and 1 again. Again, you want to avoid the scale degree 4 because it implies Ionian, and we do not want to imply Ionian on a very unstable chord. Then we have our resolution chord, which is C major 7 or 1 major 7, which is Ionian, which is our typical major scale. So 1, tension 9, 3, scale degree 4, 5, tension 13, and major 7. So now that we know all the chord scales, we can then utilize all the different techniques that we've talked about before. We can arpeggiate certain chords, we can use certain shapes, we can use enclosures to connect the chords together, and bada bing bada bam, you got your shape. Now a side note is, if you want to make it rhythmic, then you have to make sure that the time frame is perfect so they resolve in the correct place, and so on and so forth. If you just want a straight 8th note line, you don't have to worry too much about that. Just make sure that all the chord tones land on strong beats, all the tensions land on upbeats, and so on and so forth. If you do want to have a tension on a strong beat, just make sure you resolve it very well, and you'll be smooth sailing. So I'm going to show you how to build this phrase together, play it over a progression, and play it over a tune so that you can see how I plug it in. So sit back, relax, and I'll see you in a bit. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed these helpful tips on how to go about with the dreaded 2-5-1 progression, the most common progression in Western music. It is so beautiful to hear, and there's so many variations of it, so many tensions that you can use, so many beautiful things that you can create from this progression. Happy shedding. I hope these tips helped out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for all your standards, beats, jazz ed, and sax ed tips, and much, much more. Have a great week and stay saxy.